Hey y'all, and welcome back. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check out another one of my videos. And today's video, as you saw from the title, is a very exciting video all about Odens and their newest collab palettes. I'm sure you're seeing it all over your newsfeed at this point, but Odens is collaborating with 3 more influencers for 3 more palettes. And I was so excited when I saw that this was coming. I always get excited when I see collabs happening, especially when they're with smaller creators that really focus on indie. And all 3 of these creators are just fantastic content creators that I really do enjoy their content. So let's go ahead and run through. First off, we have Odens and Betty Jean. She got to collab on the Planet Spirit palette with Odens. Beautiful packaging, absolutely stunning. And here's what it looks like inside, if I can hold it up. Very bright and colorful. Like, it's unlike any of Betty Jean's previous collab palettes, which I love. It's very unique and beautiful. So something different from her. Then we have Odens and Lauren May Beauty. She collaborated on the She Talks palette and created this gorgeous, stunning, very cool tone sea-esque type of palette that has a nice mix between neutral and blues, but still all very like easy and cool tone and beautiful. And then they also collaborated with Makeup Just for Fun on the Flora Story Palette, which is, again, gorgeous cover, absolutely stunning. And then inside is a stunning combination of cool tones, greens and purples. This one spoke to me in such a special way. So in today's video, I wanted to go ahead and try them all out. I'll go ahead and put on the screen the information that you need to know. I'll leave links down below in the description box if you want to check them out. I do have a code with Odens if you want to use Lady Katie at checkout when they launch, if you're at all curious to get any of these. But we're gonna have fun with these palettes today because I've created a total of 10 looks using all of these palettes, and we're gonna get into it. I've swatched them out as well on my arm, so lots of information in this video, and I have 3 looks separately with each of these palettes. And then the final look, for the 10th look, I'm gonna use a couple of colors from each of the palettes to mix it up and create the look that I have on my eyes for the 10th look, and give you guys my review as I create this eye look. So I'll be reviewing all 3 palettes at the end for the 10th look, and the rest of the looks are just going to be my typical music overlay playing as I create the tutorial, a very quick like 2-minute tutorial of the look, so you guys can see how the eyeshadows apply on the eyes, the type of looks that I was able to get, all that type of thing. And also watch out for, I think it's the 9th look, I show you guys how the eyeshadows look after a full day of wear. So that's all the information that we're going to be jamming into this video. But since I was sent these ahead of time and there are 3 palettes, I really wanted to try and get as much use out of them and create as much as I could with them to give you guys as much information as I'm able to. So with that said, I better stop talking and let's go ahead and dive in. We're first going to get into all of the swatches, and then we'll segue right from the eye swatches into all of the tutorials, and then, as I said, finish out with the 10th look where I give you guys my review on the palettes. So let's get started. Before I forget, that last look that I just showed you at the last screen, if you didn't notice, I just wanted to verbally say here in the video, but I showed with you guys how the look looked at the end of it, like right before I left my makeup table at the beginning of the morning, but then I also included a clip that I took right before I washed my face off at the end of the night. So we're talking, I get my makeup done. I do my makeup probably around 6:37 pretty much every single morning. 6:37 is when I do my makeup, and then that night I had washed my face around 10 p.m. So that's how many hours I had it on, and I just figured it'd be fun to show you guys visually with a quick little, video of my eye, how the eyeshadow looked. And you can make your own assumptions. I was pretty pleased with how it looked, but I thought that might be helpful to include. And let me know if it is helpful, because that might be something I try to do at least once or twice in these type of palette reviews when I'm doing multiple palettes, to show you guys how the eye looked at the end of the night. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. As I said, I want to use all of these palettes as like one big palette. So this is what we're going for. My goal is to use at least 2 shadows from each one, but basically I just want to use a variety of these shades, mixing them all up to create one look on my eyes for the 10th and final look. So I've already primed with my Ace Beauté eyeshadow primer. I have a rough idea of what I want to do. So let's get in. First off, I like it deep, you guys know. I'm going to try to be a little bit brief here, because this video I'm sure is going to get long with how many looks I'm doing. So trying not to chitter-chatter too much. We're going to dive in to the blue Night Swim in the Sea Talk palette that is Lauren's collab. Odens Eye gets this award every single time. They're just so beautiful with the way they create the artwork for their palettes. I'm always so like in awe. And also I always forget, but they always include or create a scarf or some type of fabric type of thing. I usually see them as scarves or whatever. They're so beautiful. They're like silky, soft, satiny, and this time they were more like a kind of a headband bandana. They were like a little thin ribbon. My daughter loves them. Every time I get one of these palettes, she's always like, can I have that? And I'm always like, of course you can. So she always steals them and loves to wear them, but they're very beautiful because they look exactly like the palette does. So beautiful. Anyway, and then after that, I want to go in and really pack on this sage shade from the Flora Story Palette, the Makeup Just for Fun's palette. And I want to put that down because I want a really deep, grungy outer corner. But obviously, while this is nice and grungy, it doesn't have a lot of depth. So I'm thinking putting down the blue will help kind of start off that depth, and we can always go back and forth and add the two. And as you can see, per usual, when it comes to Odens Eye, they have nice pigmentation. A few of these shades, the matte shades, is what I'm going to mainly focus on right now as I work on them, but a few of the shades felt a little bit like I would pack it on the brush and then go to apply it, and it was a little thin looking, but then I would usually go back into the pan, just being mindful to pick up a little bit more, be a little bit more heavy-handed, and then it was beautiful, pigmented, and you guys could see the amount of pigment that I was getting. But still, I do want to kind of note that there were 1 or 2 shades that were just a little bit more sheer, but could be built up fairly easy. Next, I want to go with Clover. We're going to do Clover to soften this out, and that's going to be the majority of the blend on the outer corner. Just kind of go like this, and then on the inner portion, I want to use the orange. I love that orange. That bright, bright orange is so beautiful. But also I kind of went back and forth. I love the purples in this palette, the Makeup Just for Fun, the one I'm using with this shade. Her palette's got some gorgeous cool tone purples mixed with these greens. They're stunning. They're absolutely beautiful. I was very, very pleased and happy with the type of looks that I was getting. Very easy and effortless type of looks. Like for me, they were very easy everyday looks, but they were still colorful in my book and had a very, just easy earth tone feel to them. I really enjoyed this palette for sure. And I feel like people are going to say which palette, like if you can only pick one, that's really hard to say. It's honestly, like I always say, preference is really where it's at. When it comes to trying to pick your favorite palette, it really depends on what you like. I'm going to go back in to just a little bit of the blue from Lauren's palette, and I'm going to pop that right in here. Yeah, it really just does depend. I do feel like these, for me, if I didn't have, if I wasn't sent this in PR, I feel like I would probably pick up, this would be hard, I'd probably pick up this Makeup Just for Fun's palette because I love the cool tone purples and greens. I think that's beautiful. And then I'd probably just pick between one of these palettes. I don't know. There's aspects I love about this palette, but this one is the Planet Spirit palettes from Betty Jean, but there's a little bit lacking for me when it comes to creativity. It was definitely the one I struggled the most to get something very creative, and just kind of every day I opened it up and I was like, oy, what am I gonna do? There wasn't any depth in there. So while there are also aspects that, were lacking with this palette a little bit, it was mainly just that it was a little too brown down here, and then the fun colors, like this is a hot pink, but it's more of like a purple iridescent. It wasn't that crazy hot pink as you guys saw from the looks. And then this shade, well, it's beautiful. It's one of those satiny type of colors. It's not my favorite, but it still creates beautiful looks. So I don't know. If I was a consumer, I probably would just, you know, trying to be sensible, pick between one of those. But I really do like this makeup just for fun. You guys know I love a good green look, and the green looks that I got from this palette are just so beautiful, so effortless. You almost don't need that blue, because I feel like this sage green does a really great job giving depth, but I just wanted to use it to see if it did give a little bit of something, and I feel like it did. But it's beautiful, stunning, and this combination of just adding a little bit of depth out here with the blue before the greens, very pretty. Probably something I kind of already did with the other looks, but we're gonna make it different from here on out. I'm gonna try to be different and make this 10th look really fun, combining all the palettes. Okay, so for the next part, like I said, I really want to use the orange from the Planet Spirit palette, Betty Jean's collab. I love this orange, especially in the inner half of the crease. I feel like it just pops so much, but I don't really want to use like the purple or anything to deepen up from this palette, because I feel like it's a little bit expected since it's from the same palette. So I want to reach for a different color to put in the crease first before we do the orange. So I think I'm going to go with the purples, and let's go ahead and just dive right into that dark purple. And I'm curious to see how it looks mixing. It should mix well. The dark purple with, I need a little bit more of a pencil brush, but that dark purple should mix really well with the orange, I think. We're going to find out, but in theory I feel like it should. So let me pick up that dark purple, that's Orchid, from the Makeup Just for Fun Flora Story Palette. And I'm going to put that right on here. I feel like overall when it comes to the mattes, they're what I expect when it comes to Odens Eye. Like I said, one or two of them might have been a little bit more of like a little bit more soft than I expected going into it, but a little bit more of a heavy hand picking it up kind of resolved that, so it might have just been user error there. But I definitely feel like with all the colors, I was able to get the intensity that I was looking for, and the blendability. It was always, you know, really nice and easy to get to accomplish. So not much to complain about, all that to say. Like, I'm super happy with how the mattes blend out per usual. And I'm going to go in with the orange, which is called Habitat, from the Planet Spirit palette. The Planet Spirit palette had really intense colors, like very pretty. If you like more neon colors, this is definitely going to give you that effect. This definitely did have like intensity, like just bright. Like, I feel like there's so many matte shades in here that are so neon. You got intensity, you got like neon bright shades with this palette. But for me, I feel like what was really lacking in this palette was depth, because when I would create looks with it, I kind of struggled to, I mean, I feel like I got decent amount of depth, but even like the deepest outer corner that I got was more mid-tone for me. Ooh, that's so pretty. It's more of a mid-tone feel for me than a true like deep outer corner. So like the looks that you get, if you're more into that neon, just bright, very bright light, which maybe, you know, you are, especially as we head into spring. I feel like it's more popular spring and summer, but I feel like you definitely have to be into those type of tones to really enjoy this palette, because I just felt like I didn't have those shades to ground the look for me. Was just a little bit lacking. And then between the pinks and the purples, especially the two pinks, like this shade and this shade, they were a little bit similar when I was using them. Kind of, you know, yes, they were different, but with it being in a smaller palette, I felt like they were one or the other. So I feel like color story wise, what I like the colorfulness of Betty Jean's palette, it was a color story that was missing a little bit for me across the board. Okay, so here's where we are at with the mattes. I really like how everything is looking. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna go into just a touch of that blue, because I feel like blue and purple and green, that should mesh really well, but I'm just gonna tap it right in there just to make sure it kind of just harmonizes those two shades right there, because sometimes I feel like it can be a little bit weak. I could use the green, but I just wanted to use the blue, so we're using the blue. But anyway, at this point, we're going to go on to the lid, and I got some fun idea for the lid. No idea if it'll look good, but we're going to try it, so let's see how that goes. I want to use this green over the majority of the lid, and then even over that green and over the rest of the like entire lid, I want to use this multichrome, because the multichrome is definitely sheer. I used this multichrome in the Betty Jean palette all over my lid. Very pretty. And I know I used this multichrome a couple times, but I don't think I used it all over the lid. But I feel like since this shifts like pink or it's like a orangey red to yellow green. I feel like it'll be really cool combined with this shade because this has the color, and we can talk about that shade because it's one of those shades that is so beautiful, but it's like a satin. I don't know why. Like Odens Eye does such beautiful, very shimmery, like stunning formulas when it comes to their shimmers, but then they'll throw in these interesting satin tones, and they're just, I mean, I guess people like satin, so it's, you know, they got variety in there, a little bit something for everyone. And maybe Lauren really likes the satiny colors because they're not mattes. At least I don't enjoy using them as mattes. If you got the limited edition Christmas collection, the Christmas Eve? No, Christmas Day. I think it was Christmas Eve, had a yellow that was satiny like that. One of those, it was like the pop of color, and I was so excited. And then when I started working with it, it was a satiny color. So, you know, I used it as a matte, and it, I mean, it looked okay. You could just tell close up that it had a different texture to it that I didn't love. And then all over the lid, it just gave color, gave no real shine, and it had like a dusty type of look to it that I wasn't crazy about. And that's how this shade is as well. You guys saw me use it kind of cutting my crease, I think at the last look or the look before that. And it's pretty, but I don't know, it definitely doesn't like hold up to all the sparkles of all the other shimmers that they have in their palette. So it's a little confusing to me why they put them in there when there's so many other beautiful, sparkly, and even like opaque and sparkly. There's like the flakies, there's the multichromes, there's the shifties, and then there's these more satiny colors. This is called Electric Kelp, and like I said, I want to use it over mostly the center going outward, but we'll come in a little bit, and then the multichrome will put on the rest of it. But here we go. It's not a terrible color, but it's just more, it kind of looks like it should be a matte, but there's a little bit of a shine to it. So maybe it's like even when, remember way back in the day when they were doing shimmers, I feel like this was often what a shimmer was. It reminds me of like Lorax shimmers, when I used to try all their pro palettes and stuff. It's just very soft. It has a nice amount of color to it. It's very light. I think that's just because of the color though, because if you actually look at it in the pan, look at it on your eyes, it's nice and opaque. So I can't really complain about it there. It's just not my favorite texture to play around with, and there's no real sparkle. There's just a very subtle amount of sheen to it. Very subtle. And interestingly enough, that's the only satiny, like this formula that's the only shade between all three of these palettes. None of the other palettes have this. And also with this palette having that subtle kind of you know, satiny color, there's no multichrome, at least that I can tell, obvious multichrome like there are in the other two palettes. So that's just definitely a difference I figured I should point out. If you're someone who loves multichromes or maybe just doesn't like multichromes, that would be a difference between the palettes. I now want to go into Dawn from the Makeup Just for Fun palette, the Flora Story palette, and we're going to put this over that, really amp it up in the inner part of it, and then put it over the rest of that green because I'm curious to see what it'll do. Yeah, look at this. This is a multichrome. Like I said, it goes from like a green yellow, oh, my phone's on, a green yellow to, there's a bit of red or something. It's like a multicolor. It's very, very beautiful because there's a multicolor sparkle, if I can talk. But it's very pretty, and it goes right with this shade. Like these two, just like, okay, I gotta turn my phone down, I'm so sorry, but just like I was thinking, these two are gonna go really nicely together because some of the colors it shifts and the color it is when you build it up really does remind me of that that color that we put down initially. Just now it has all the sparkle and the pizzazz that it was missing before. And I'll be curious to see if it has any shiftiness, which I would assume it does, but how obvious the shift is. If it's more obvious since it's going over a nice pigmented base, that's pretty. So here it is, all by itself, that shade, what is it called, Electric Kelp, and here it is topped with that multichrome Dawn. So pretty. I can't wait to see it all done. But yeah, this is a really pretty shade. I like Odens Eye's multichromes. They're definitely more of the kind of slick, super shock type of formula where it's very smooth and it definitely transfers a lot. I do find that I can use a good glitter primer, or if I really want it to stay put and it's a bit flakier, which I don't think their multichromes tend to be flaky, it's usually the other shadows, but as a whole, Odens Eye, when I'm dealing with their flakier shadows, I'll just seal it with a little bit, I'll tap a little bit of glitter primer on top, And that really does the trick for me to really get it to stay in place. Like I said, it'll still transfer a little bit up here, but when I use the glitter primer, it kind of just keeps it in this area, whereas when I don't, or if it's just a really bad flaky shadow, like it'll be all up in here and like dropping everywhere. So the glitter primer definitely helps. And for me, like I just like how smooth the Odens Eye Multi-Chromes are, so I really do enjoy this formula. And even though they aren't like anything black based, so like not super obvious, they have a very gorgeous shift to it that I think is very obvious when you're wearing it and kind of going throughout your day. I always find it very easy to catch it in the mirror. I'm gonna go back into that sage color that we put, right, I'm gonna just pop it right in there. I'll probably go back with a little bit more of that shimmer because I kind of tapped it in higher than I wanted. Because I was just going to I like to just barely brush the edge because I feel like that helps blend the shimmer into the matte so it's not such a harsh line. But yeah, this is looking really pretty, very grungy. Maybe we should put a pop of something from Betty Jean's palette on the lower lash line just to make it really stand out, because like I said, it's getting very grungy. I love it, but don't want to be too boring. So let's go ahead and go down to the bottom lash line, and let me see, let's use that hot red somehow. Hot red, this shade right here, this is Sanctuary. It's very intense. We can use Sanctuary, and we could put, we could put the brown, but the brown's gonna grunge it out too much. What if we did Night Swim right against the lower lash line and then put Sanctuary everywhere else to really make it pop, and it would kind of pop off and complement the orange up in there, and you guys could see how intense it is. Hopefully you guys like that idea, because that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go into a Night Swim, which is that blue, and I'm going to go right in here. I'm going to clean up my lashes like crazy. I had an eye look on before I sat down to do this, and I am testing out the new Milani tubing mascara, and it's a new formula, so I always like to use it for like a week or so because I feel like new mascaras just make a mess in general. But I was definitely struggling on this eye. It was getting a little too much product. It was too wet, so I felt like all my lashes were clumping together, and I had to really work to save it. But I think it overall ended up looking very nice, and it definitely looked like I have a lot of lashes, I think. We're gonna go into this brush from BK Beauty, the 207, and like I said, let's go into Sanctuary, that hot pink slash red. I say hot pink slash red because this is a hot pink in my opinion, so this is deeper. It's like a raspberry, and I'm gonna go right against my lashes. It's always hard for me to do my lower lash line when my lower lashes have mascara on it because they don't want to be messed with. And it's looking a little bit deeper because probably my skin tone down here, and then also mixing with the blue, making it deeper. So I'm going to take more on that brush and see if I can just do more patting motions to help it stand out. I feel like it went right over that blue, which is a little surprising. The dark blue that I put. And it usually is a little bit softer on the lower lash line just because the lower lash line I typically set before I do. And up here it's always tacky, so it has more oomph. But today that looked like it just kind of disappeared. I think that'll do. I think that looks pretty. Okay, you could definitely tell the difference between these two sides. I feel like right here it looks so hot pink because it was a little damp compared to this side where it was all dry. So definitely to make this color really shine and be neon, you gotta have a tacky base to really make it stand out. Still pretty, it's just a little bit deeper. Mixing with that blue is more of a deep raspberry. Okay, let's do the inner corner. Oh, what should I do? Kinda just wanna use, let's use this blue, or the blue-green, this shade right here, which is Mermaid Scales. This is really pretty. When we're talking about the shimmers with these palettes, there's definitely, like I said, some that are really nice and just a great formula, lots of sparkle, and then there's a couple that are more flaky. So definitely something to be aware. I'll go ahead after I do this. I'm gonna point out the ones that are, in my opinion, pretty flaky. And flaky as in when you're putting it on your eye, you're like, yes, you get tons of beautiful sparkle and all that, but it also just kind of makes a mess throughout the day or makes a mess on your eyes as you apply it, that type of thing. But they're still workable. I feel like there wasn't any one shade in here that was so flaky. Like some of their palettes, I know I remember pointing out a bunch in the Christmas Eve palette that they were very flaky and messy and I didn't enjoy working with them. But I feel like as a whole, out of all now 10 looks that I've done with these palettes, there wasn't one shade that was like, yeah, I never want to dip into that again. So that's good. In this palette, so let's run down really quickly. This palette, this one was a little bit flaky, and then this one was flaky but also smooth. It's one of that weird, like, interesting iridescent formulas where if you roughed it up too much, yeah, it was flaky, but if you kind of just kept it smoothed over your finger or with a brush, it applied pretty well. I think even in the Get Ready With Me videos, the tutorials, you could see this flake off a bit, and that was about as bad as it got. This palette, the Flora Story Palette, let's see, Magnolia is a little flaky, and maybe Lush a little bit, but honestly not bad. It was really Magnolia that stood out to me. That was a little bit messy. And then in Planet Spirit, the flakiest shadow in here is honestly, I think, just Majestic. Familiar, maybe a touch, but honestly not that bad, but Majestic was the one that was a little flaky. And that one, like I said, I really didn't mind using them. So even though they were a little bit flaky, they weren't as bad as some of their previous palettes has been. So I was really happy about that. So at this point, I feel like that's pretty much my review. I'm gonna go finish up my look, put on some wing liner, put something in my waterline, put a little bit mascara on if I can, put on a lipstick, and we can close out this video. So, be right back. Okay, you guys, this is the final look, and I'll stick close-ups here for this 10th look. Like I said, this 10th look was mostly just for fun and getting to use all of the eyeshadows to kind of see what type of look you could get, creating a little bit, you know, being able to pick a little bit from each of the palettes. And I love a good grungy look, so I really like how it turned out, and so many more possibilities when you're opening all three of these palettes up and kind of looking at them side by side. They create a really fun, large palette, a very fun color story if you are at all interested in getting all of them. I feel like they'll play along with each other very well and very effortlessly. So overall, those are my thoughts and feelings when it comes to this palette. I feel like it really comes down to just the type of looks that you want to get, the type of, you know, formulas that you like to work with as to which palette you might want. And as I said during the review, they came with little silk scarves. Oh, I have one right here. I forgot. My daughter was very generous and left me one. But this is just a silk scarf, and I wish I was more fancy with my hair, but it would just be so beautiful to wear. Kind of like, I wish I could pull it off, but I feel like I don't. But just kind of wear like this and have your hair down, especially like in curls. It's beautiful. If you're someone who is into scarves, I feel like this little touch that they do to go along with their palette, it's such nice quality, so beautiful. My daughter has all of the ones that I've ever been sent from Odens with their previous collabs, and she plays with them all the time with her dolls, and she'll create, like, you know, put them on her head. She loves veils, and she loves just dressing up as a princess, and these silk scarves make her feel like a princess, so they're very well made. Just thought I would throw that out there. I was very impressed, and I think it's just a nice special touch that they do. And I like that typically they were square scarves, and I really like that these are thinner. Like I said, they're more likely that I'll wear them because I was like, oh, maybe for a video. And of course in this video I forgot till the end. But hey, I'm putting it here at the end. Does that count at all? You guys tell me. But like, I might be able to rock this. I feel like that's cute, and it's like so comfortable. Anyway, I just thought that was a special touch I would mention here at the end. But yeah, that is gonna do it for this video. I hope this video wasn't too long and too overwhelming with all the different things I was including in here, but I hope it was helpful nonetheless. That's kind of always my point with these videos. I just want to give you guys as much information as I can to hopefully help you guys make the decision that's best for you. So with that said, I can't wait to hear from you guys at this point. Let me know what you guys think about these collabs. Do you know those creators? Do you like these color stories? Are you at all interested in trying Odens? Have you tried them? Let me know all your thoughts and feelings down below when it comes to this newest collab from Odens. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. But overall, my summary of this collection is it's a really nice addition to their collection. Very beautifully done as always. Such a gorgeous display piece. And per usual, I always forget in the beginning, but a huge congratulations to Makeup Just for Fun, Betty Jean, and Laura May Beauty on this collab. Or Lauren, I think I just called her Laura. Lauren May Beauty on these collab palettes. It's super exciting and very happy that they got this opportunity. So with that said, that's going to do it for me. As I already told you guys, the details are going to be down below in the description box along with links, and I'll leave my affiliate code if you would like to use it. It is affiliated, so I will get a kickback. But if you want to save some money, LadyKatie92 will do that at checkout. And yeah, I'm over on Instagram as always. I'm sure you guys are going to see some of the looks over on my Instagram page and the swatches and whatnot. I'll try to put them over there as we get close to launch date. But yeah, LadyKatie92 if you want to follow me over there. And with all that said, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye guys.